Loud and Quiet presents Midnight Chats.
Hey, what's up everyone? Thank you for downloading this episode of the podcast. This is Midnight Chats from Loud and Quiet magazine. My name is Stuart, and my guest tonight is the incredible Sharon Van Etten, who I hadn't met until now. A friend of mine actually asked me if we know all the people before they come on, which I took as a very big compliment. Sometimes we have met some of these artists before through doing the magazine and other things, but a lot of the time we really haven't. And they're always very nice. You know, there's a couple who are not very nice. I won't name them. But Sharon Van Etten, I hadn't met, and I watched some videos of her online just to try and get an idea of like the kind of person she's going to be. And I thought that's someone who I think is going to be extremely lovely and very easy to talk to very quickly from the off. And that couldn't have been more correct. I did a pause then for dramatic effect, but it couldn't have been more correct. Sharon was lovely, and we spoke for an hour, and it could have gone on. I'm not sure if she maybe felt that, but I could have spoken to her for ages. She's done a lot. This year she's released her 5th album, which is called Remind Me Tomorrow. And there's been 5 years between that and her previous album, which was called Are We There? And in that time, her plan was to kind of just calm down, not do so much, get off the road and just live life a little bit. But she's filled that 5 years with having a baby and falling in love and becoming an actor as well. So a lot of this episode of the podcast is not really music based. We get to the music about halfway through, but the first half is me talking to Sharon about her love for comedy. She loves comedy and wanted to be a stand-up. She's even tried stand-up. She talks about that. She talks a bit about becoming a mother. Her son is currently 2 years old. And what else? Comedy writing, films, meeting David Lynch. There's a lot in this one. It's also the podcast out of all of the ones that I've recorded that has the most midnight feel to it. And what I mean by that is it's very kind of loose. Sharon's from New Jersey, but she lived in Tennessee for a while, and it's got that kind of southern just calm to it, I think, or she does at least. And then, you know, every now and then I start honking, laughing, and ruining the mood. But it's very mellow, this listen. So I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please do subscribe, listen back to our previous episodes. And yeah, I'm going to just leave it there. So please enjoy this episode of Midnight Chats with Sharon Van Etten. Thanks very much for Sharon for coming on. And we didn't speak that much about the new album, but you should go and check it out. It's called Remind Me Tomorrow. It came out earlier this year. And it really is a great record. So thanks to Sharon for coming on. And I should just say that we start the conversation halfway through Sharon and I talking about different places we've DJ'd, and me talking about DJing at a wedding of a friend of mine. So with that in mind, here we go. Doing a wedding was just hard.
Because people have so many requests on top of,
and they get so angry.
And because they get drunk throughout the night.
Yeah.
And then they want to dance.
Yeah.
And there's too many slow jams. The crowd gets anxious.
Yeah, exactly. And the crowd is too split because there were some young people, and they just kept asking for drum and bass. Mm-hmm. But we were at a wedding, and that probably wasn't very appropriate for the older people at the wedding.
Yeah, who want to get out there too.
Yeah, exactly. And then those people were quite angry when we play younger stuff, and the young people were angry when we played like classic stuff. And I was driving, so I had to be sober the whole time.
Yeah, a wedding sober.
Oh, it was long. And when we finished, they all kind of started booing us that we'd finished and they wanted us to play more, and people were really drunk by then.
Oh no.
So just don't do it. That's my advice.
Don't?
Just don't do it.
Just don't DJ a wedding ever.
Never. Just stick to the tour bus.
Well, actually, there's a funny song. A friend of mine got married, and a song came on that I never really connected with before, but in the context of this day, I just heard it in a different way, and that song by Hot Chocolate.
Oh yeah, which one? Like You Sexy Thing?
Yeah, but like when the way he says miracles makes me laugh so hard because it's like, I believe in miracles. So like the way he says, I just started cracking up, and like now it's one of my favorite songs. And my partner and I, he actually just proposed to me, so we're starting to.
Congratulations!
plan
That's your first dance.
Yeah, exactly. That some people are like, oh, you want it to be something romantic? We're like, no, we want to like go out with a bang. Like
Yeah.
we want to like mess it up.
Yeah. Have you set a rough date? Do you know what? Just in terms of year, what year are you getting married this year?
2020.
Okay, next
year. Yeah, we don't have time this
Kicking it
year.
to next
It's gonna
year.
be insanity. I mean, we're on top of me touring all summer and relocating from New York to North Carolina to Los Angeles. I mean, it's gonna be it's too much.
Too much. So at the moment you're still in New York, right?
Yes, we're in New York until June.
And then the plan is to go all the way west to LA,
Yes.
but you're going to North Carolina first?
Yeah, because I'm touring all summer, like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and we have family down there. So we figure let's see as much family as we can before we go on the opposite coast of where everybody lives.
Sure.
And then we'll take a breather and try to settle down for a minute. But it's, and with a little one, we want to make sure he sees his grandparents and his aunts and uncles and stuff.
How did the proposal go? Were you expecting it?
I did not suspect it. I mean, I knew that he was going to ask me one day.
Yeah.
He used to be married, so like that, we had the joke where I'm like, why don't you just be single for a while and enjoy that? And so I knew that he was going to ask me, and we have a kid, so I was like, that was the ring,
Yeah.
But I knew when he did it, he's a romantic like me, so I knew it was going to be really special. And I'd come back from a U.S. tour that lasted like 3 weeks. And we got a babysitter just to go on a date. So that alone, I was so excited. Like, we're going on a date. Like we, as new parents, like I think most people know that it's just really hard to get a moment. And so he surprised me with tickets to UCB, which is like improv comedy in New York, which I'm a huge fan of comedy. So we went there, and then we went to dinner at a place that's kind of on our bucket list of places. It's called Minetta Tavern, and it's in the Village, and it's just one of the oldest restaurants in the neighborhood, and just very classic New York kind of cocktails, steak, potatoes, like they're known for their burger and their cocktails.
Okay.
And we had a great dinner, and he asked if I wanted dessert. I said, actually, let's go to my old hood and grab a cocktail in this old bar that we used to go hang out at and listen to jazz. It's like a speakeasy, there's no sign. There's just a guy standing at the door that doesn't want you to come in. So he's like, oh, that's perfect, because I wanted to stop by this place and it's on the way. So we got a cab, and he told the cab driver to pull over, and it was in front of my old apartment on West 4th Street, which is sandwiched between a sex shop and a bar, and right next to the Music Inn, kind of, and, Dillon Street. He's like, I wanted to get a photograph of you in front of your old apartment, because this is, represents our relationship and where we started dating. And then he took a picture and showed it to me, said some nice things, and then he pulled out a couple photographs from his pocket. And it was him and my son picking out the wedding ring in North Carolina when we were there in December for Christmas. And he's held on to this ring since then. And so my son helped him pick out the ring. He even had it on his finger. And so I started crying. And he said some more nice things.
Yeah.
Then he asked if, I wanted him to get down on his knee. I said, yes, I want you to get down on your knee.
He was thinking at this point, this is surely enough for me to not have to get down on the knee.
I was like, oh no, get down on your knee.
I still want that. Yeah.
And so like we had a good laugh, and like I was kind of floored. And you know, West Fourth is very busy. It's like a major train station area, and so there were passerbys that caught it and
Cheering.
So like they like sent, you know, they took some photos like while he was on his knee, and they're like, "Say yes," and so it was really sweet. And
Nice.
you know, I said yes, and then I think I said thank you.
That's
Like, thank
Thanks
you
very much.
I
Yes.
appreciate it. So now we're, you know, we went and got a cocktail, and there was a great jazz band playing, and we just, you know, texted
Had a
our
good
friends and
time.
family. And
That's brave of him to hold on to it for so long, for a few months, the ring, because when I proposed to my wife, I went and got the ring, and I was so panicked to be in possession of this really expensive thing that I almost just threw it at her when she walked in the door. And it wasn't very romantic at all.
it wasn't.
I don't think it was, no.
What did you do?
It wasn't that. It wasn't what you just described. It put me to shame.
Aw.
But I wanted to talk. You mentioned about being a fan of stand-up comedy. Is it true that you wanted to be a stand-up, or have you tried stand-up recently?
I tried stand-up once in LA because my babysitter convinced me, and she was putting together a variety show, and she's a comic and improv and writer. And
How long ago was it? So this was only like, what, a year ago or something?
yeah, this was last year when I was making the record.
Okay. And you'd never done stand-up before?
No. I mean, I'm a silly person.
How did it go?
Let's just say I printed out like a 5-page thing that I referred to when I got nervous. I had a glass of wine in one hand, and I apologized like every other joke. But it was fun, and it was like a warm crowd. It was like our friends, you know.
Did it go well?
I wasn't booed,
Well, that's good.
you know, and it was like a mix of like, since it was a variety show, like there were people, you know, there was stand-up, there was a comedy troupe, and, you know, there was a reading and from a book, and yeah, it was like a very welcoming crowd.
How long was your bit?
It's like 15 minutes.
That's long.
That's long.
That's long for someone starting out. I thought when you start out, you do like
5.
5 tops. 5 is long.
That's probably what I should have
5.
done. It's probably what I should have done.
What was your material then? What were the things you were talking about?
Hi, my name is Sharon Van Etten, and I'm a songwriter, and I have a band. And I fell in love with my drummer, who was married, because I'm an adult and I can make my own fucking decisions. And now he's my manager, and he can make my decisions for me.
And is this your delivery as well? I like the delivery; it's amazing. That's your.
It's pretty deadpan,
Yeah,
just
but-
like, and it was kind of awkward, you know. And it's like, you know, I like the awkward laughter in the audience, and then, like, I went on just kind of telling our story and the awkwardness of, you know, being in a band and having feelings, and you know, it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But you know, you have to make light of the seriousness.
That's a brave thing to do, though. I go to see stand-up sometimes, but I generally am instantly embarrassed for them. Even as soon as they come on, I'm too scared that they're going to be terrible. We had a stand-up where I used to DJ in my bad student union. On a Saturday night before the DJing happened, they had a comedy night, and I saw a guy there totally die in front of her. It was terrible to watch. It was really bad.
It's got to be the hardest job in show business.
Yeah.
It's so specific. You know, at least with music, I feel like people can connect with it in their own way.
Yeah.
Whereas with comedy, it's like you have to be on, you have to be funny. It's funny or not.
Yeah.
You
Would you
know.
do it again? Would you?
I don't know. I feel like delivery isn't my strong suit.
I don't know. I liked it. I like this.
I'm interested in the writing process, though, and my babysitter and I are actually toying around with the idea of working on a show together.
Okay.
So I had this idea of kind of like not quite a sitcom, but high maintenance style but it's more babysitters. So it's like a mother and her relationship with her babysitters.
Okay.
Because it's such an intense relationship, but you get put in the most awkward circumstances where there's a hierarchy of babysitters and they become a part of your family. And as a mother, it's so liberating to trust someone enough to leave them alone with your child so you can go about your life and like figure out how to work again. But you get put in these like weird situations where you're like, every now and then it's like, I don't know this person, but I'm just going to have to trust that they're a good person and like whatever. And there's one time I came home and the babysitter left. Didn't say anything. She was totally fine. And like the apartment smells like shit. Like, what is going on? And I look at the monitor and the whole entire crib is just covered in shit. And she chose not to wake him up to clean him up or change his diaper.
Is this the same babysitter that you did the comedy show for?
No.
This is an ex
You're like,
babysitter.
how? Yeah, this is, we call her last resort.
Okay. So she's still there just in case.
Oh, well, we probably will not call on her again, but I could not believe that. I was like, how do you let a baby sleep in shit like that? It was terrible.
So when you discovered this, what did you called her and said what?
No, I was like, that's not something you confront. You're just
Okay,
like,
right.
You're not calling them back.
Okay,
you know?
right.
And you're just, yeah. But like things like that, or there's one time where the babysitter that is the comedian, she taught my kid how to pick up the remote and use it as a phone, and she would say hello, and so my son would pick it up and go hello, like the hello motion with like the cell phone kind of thing. And she walked in the door one day to come to work, and she saw me doing her little thing. She's like, that was like our thing, like I was stealing my babysitter's moves because in all reality, babysitters have more experience than I do, as a mom. I have 2 years under my belt and they have way more than I do.
So do you have like different babysitters in different towns? The comedian is is that your LA babysitter when you're over that side?
Yes, and I'm getting a Rolodex, as I, meet more moms around the world. But yeah, I definitely don't have babysitters everywhere, but it's something that every time we choose to bring our son, when we go somewhere, we ask our friends for advice. And it's funny too, because people get very territorial, because if you end up moving somewhere and you use your babysitter and their babysitter likes you more, or you call on them more, or they go to get a date night and they're taken by you, it gets weird. They're like, we can't go out because you got her.
You've got our babysitter. You've booked our babysitter. You
stole her from us. So it's funny, especially in New York, people get really like, I'm like, do you know anyone? They're like, no. And you kind of like, okay, I get it. I'll look up somebody else.
Meanwhile, you're passing on the name of the person who lets your baby just sleep covered in shit. You're like, this person's good.
Oh, yes, she's fantastic.
You can have her.
She's very relaxed.
That sounds like a rich source for a comedy.
Right?
And I've not heard of a comedy about babysitters and the relationship between babysitters and parents.
Because it's so nuanced.
There's a gap.
And everybody has different needs. And I think there's like a whole new wave of shows coming out that are about new mothers and how vulnerable that is and the expectations that come with, especially mothers that feel guilty for going back to work, because I think that's just the society right now, is that both partners have to work to make it, especially if you live in a city. It's just kind of, or if you're a creative person, it's like you have to work or you're not happy and you're not as fulfilled. And it's my partner and I are both like creative and work a lot, and we're in the arts, and we know it's going to be a struggle, but we also want our kid to grow up watching us struggle and figure it out and do what we love. But it's a struggle, and there's a lot of people helping us make it work. And I think that's definitely not something that's talked about enough.
Sure. So how far have you got in planning this show? Have you written any of it? Have you actually written any of it out?
I have episodes sketched out.
Do you?
And like basically, it's loosely based on my life, where the joke is So like the sitter that I'm writing this with is hopefully going to be the main character, or at least it's based around her. Depending, I don't even know if I'm actually going to be in it or if it's just loosely based on me. It would be kind of fun to direct somebody else.
Yeah.
But my friend who we're collaborating her name is Bridget Ryan. So my character is this songwriter in New York who she's in such a happy place in her life that she's just not inspired to make a record. So her label comes and checks in on her to see how she's doing. She's like, actually, I'm doing really great. My kid is great. Everything's great. But I'm so happy. I just can't write I can't write right now. So, I actually got offered this acting job in LA, and I think I'm going to take it and just kind of take a break and try something new. And hopefully that inspires me to write a record. And my label's so amazing and understanding, then they let me go. And so I go and I have to find a sitter to help me land this new job while we relocate to Los Angeles. And
This all sounds quite familiar at this
right?
point. Yeah.
And then, but my sitter is such a mess that at the end of every episode, she tells me about what's going on in her life and how terrible and chaotic and dramatic it is. And I'm inspired by her life. And I start writing songs based on her, about her.
Nice. Okay.
So
Yeah.
and that's part of the plot.
I started watching the OA last night.
Oh no.
I did. I didn't know that we could necessarily get it over here because our Netflix isn't the greatest.
Yeah, for some reason it's not the same, which I don't understand.
Yeah, we don't get all the same stuff, but we do. But I found it,
Okay.
and I watched episode 1. But you're not in episode 1, right?
Right.
But it's creepy. Tell me a bit. Like for anyone who's not watched it, this is a show that's on Netflix. You're in 6 episodes in series 1, right?
Something like that.
And series 2 started, or is it?
Yes, it just got released. And so one thing as an older person that I'm learning is that they put it out and it's the whole season. You can binge watch.
Yeah, watch the whole thing.
Binge watching is
Sure.
what the kids do today.
Yeah, absolutely. So how would you describe the OA? As I say,
Rom-com? No.
it's very very lighthearted. Yeah, it's as I say, I've watched episode 1 so far.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi. It's a dark sci-fi about a scientist that kidnaps people that have near-death experiences and does experiments on them.
And you're
And I'm a captive held in his basement.
right.
That's had a
So
near-death
I've not got that
experience.
far yet. I've got as far as the OA is the name of the lead character, right?
Yes.
And she's escaped. Episode 1, she's escaped from having been captive for 7 years. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, your character, who I've not got to yet, what's your character called?
Rachel.
Rachel's still there, I presume. I'm going to get to... Okay.
I don't know.
You don't want to... Okay, I get
I
it.
don't
You
know.
don't want to spoil that. That's fair. What kind of character's Rachel? Is that... What can you tell me that doesn't spoil it for anyone?
Well, this is the first acting role I ever got offered. And this was literally 2 weeks into me going back to school after I took a break from the road intentionally. And so I was nervous to audition because I felt like...
Did you have to go and do the read? Like
I did a reading in front of A.V. Kaufman, who was the casting director, who's like a big casting.
And you've never done anything like that before? You've never done any acting?
Never done any acting. I had one audition for like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Did you? For what part? For the part?
Yeah, but I was terrible on it. I didn't get it. I had no idea what I was doing, and I did it with my phone and like by myself. And
Was it the one that was? Is it Rooney Mara?
I was.
Because they made 2, didn't they? There's
It
2.
was this one. I think it was around 2010, 2011.
Because there's one with Daniel Craig, and there's one with someone else. There's a David Fincher one, and there's another. Anyway.
I think it was the Fincher one. That was
Okay,
the first
cool.
one, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But
Okay. So that was the only thing.
So I didn't get
you've
it,
done.
and which is fine. I don't think I was meant for that role, but
Sure.
I was intrigued with Rachel because her biography was like very close to my life. So like she grew up in choir. She ran away from home to pursue music. On the way, something terrible happens and her life changes forever. and she is scared and vulnerable, but empathic, and I just, I felt like I could draw from personal experience to be a believable Rachel.
I'm going to keep watching. I'm in. I'm hooked. It ends, that first episode kind of, are they all an hour long?
No, they're all different lengths.
Oh, okay, right. Because that first one's quite a long one.
Yeah.
But I was
an
like,
hour's long, yeah.
it's weird, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
really that long, but in
Yeah.
in the modern world,
Yeah,
it
in the
seems really
TV
long.
land.
TV land, that's
Yeah.
long. So when you went for your audition, had you always thought I'd quite like to give acting a go?
No, definitely not.
Did this just fall? Were you just? So how did this kind of come about?
Well, I grew up in choir and musicals. I was in musicals in high school, and when I was in high school, I thought I wanted to be on Broadway until
Right.
I started writing my own songs, and then I found this superpower. So then that was the path that I took from high school, and I stayed on that path until I'm 38 now, so I'm finally making a living at 38. So you kids out there that think you want to do music, think about that for a second. But I mean, I'm interested in it. It came about because the assistant to the casting director was at a Nick Cave show. I was supporting Nick Cave in 2013, and he saw our performance. And 2 years later, somehow in his mental Rolodex, emotionally, what the character called for in the script, I was one of the people he thought of to audition.
Wow.
I think they wanted it to be a singer,
Right.
and not an actress first. And rumor has it that I think Angel Olsen got asked to audition, and I think my friend Jen Wasner from Wyoke got asked to audition as well. So
Okay.
they're looking for something specific. So
Did they read for it? Do you know?
I don't know.
Do you know who you beat? What I'm saying is, do you know who you beat for this?
I mean, I think it was more of like they just couldn't do it.
Right,
So I don't
okay.
think I beat them.
Yeah.
I think they were just like they had so much stuff going
stuff on.
on. Just
Yeah, okay.
most musicians are touring 9 months out of the year, and when they're not touring, they're making a record.
Yeah.
Like that's so. I'm surprised that it worked out for me, and my school deferred my enrollment so I could take that and then go back the next semester and then I got pregnant in between.
Yeah. So in the 5 years since Are We There and the new record, you filled it up with a lot of stuff. There's just been a lot going on.
It's pretty insane.
It's almost as if you're now have decided to tour a record to relax for a little bit. Like, I need to relax.
To get some sleep.
Yeah, I need
Yeah,
to.
first night's sleep.
I need to
since
eat
my
well
boy
and
was
sleep
born.
properly. So I'm going to go on the road.
Have one meal a day. Wake up with no voice and hope that it comes back by the time the show starts.
You also in the remake of this. It's not really a remake, is it? This next series of Twin Peaks. Were you just performing a track in that, or were you a part? I've not seen the new series of that at all.
Oh, we performed. We performed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Roadhouse.
Did you meet Mr. Lynch?
I did.
What was it like? We had him on the cover of our magazine about 5 years ago. I didn't meet him, but a photographer who was in LA who shot him at his house described him as, he said that there was an aura around him. He said that at one point David Lynch touched him on the shoulder and asked him where he'd like him to stand. And he said it was an incredible feeling of being touched by an amazing person.
I mean,
Does that sound familiar?
He is the definition of intentional. The whole thing was surrounded by mystery and we didn't have a lot of information, but basically very last minute we booked a red-eye flight to be out there. Just me and my partner who played drums on the last record. And we had two friends that were just living in LA, so we could just have them on call and they would pick us up and have the gear, and we're just flying by the seat of our pants. So we take the red eye, we get there in the morning and we're waiting for the call, and they give us a call and they give us an address, and we show up and to this undisclosed location, and there's a mysterious door that somebody opens once we call this number, and they open the door and we walk in and we're in the Roadhouse. And like Eddie Vedder had just finished performing, and all the other bands that are playing are waiting in the wings, and the audience is already there, and you're walking through and you just feel like you're in the film already. And behind the audience are the director's chairs, and David's sitting there with his megaphone, chain smoking, and like analyzing every little thing from the light to the angles of the light to the order of the height of the audience, and just making sure that, and like the placement of an amp. He's like hands-on with everything.
Did he come and speak to you before?
He didn't speak to us before. Well, when we finally set up on stage, and he basically just asked us to perform. And we ran it once, and he moved a couple things, very small moves. And then we did it again. And he's like, "Are you guys happy?" I'm like, "If you're happy, I mean, that's all I need, If you say we're good, we're good." And so I walk off stage, and, he shakes my hand and says, "Thank you for being a part of it." And he's, just looked me square in the eye and said, "Thank you." Shook my hand. And his son is a big fan, and he was, complimentary of my style, but also asked about my Jag, because he has a Jaguar as well. And so, like, I let him, like, mess around with it, and he was super psyched. And, yeah, his name is Riley Lynch, and he was a really...
How old's his son? Is he...
I think in his 20s.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So I think he turns his dad on to music as well.
Right.
And he has a good ear. So it was nice to meet him.
Sounds like it felt like being in a dream.
It was very dreamlike. I mean, literally, it's like even Trent Reznor was waiting in the wings, like when we were there.
Did you know any of the others? Had you met any of the other bands before?
Yeah, I mean, we've crossed paths.
Okay.
I've been a fan of Pearl Jam since I was a teenager.
Did you get the feeling they were as kind of...
Everybody was in awe. Everyone's super humbled, being quiet, spectators, because there were booths in the back. So, like, all the artists were in the booths behind the director's chairs. There's one bathroom upstairs where it's like whatever artist is on next, they're getting ready. So as I was packing my things up after I had finished, Trent Reznor was coming in, and he shook my hand as we, like, just were trading positions, we're all just kind of like, and I'm peeing my pants as well. Okay, cool, just checking. So it was really, really special.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And once you move over there, you can just be doing this on a weekly basis. This is just going to be your world once you move over to
I don't know about that.
Are you gonna pursue acting though?
I'm interested in all angles. I think I want to learn more about the writing process, and I'm hopefully going to be working on a score, and I'll have a home studio while I'm out there, so I can hopefully help other people make music too. Like, I think producing is interesting for not super full-on production, but like helping young songwriters kind of find their voice and give them a space to let go and be themselves, and maybe take some acting classes, because I have no idea what I'm doing up there. I'm just like...
Well, you must be doing something. Maybe that's the key though, because in the OA, for example, they obviously wanted you to be you to an extent,
Right.
But I suppose maybe not all roles would be.
Yeah. Well, I did get to take like an improv class with my friend that's my babysitter.
Did you?
We did an improv. You can do like drop-in classes that are just one-offs.
Right.
At Groundlings.
Oh, the Groundlings, that's a big famous like improv place, where a lot of the Saturday Night Live guys come from, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So like UCB is one, Groundlings is one, and so there's so many outlets there. But
there's a real culture of that in the States that we don't have here. We don't have improv classes at all.
Really?
I don't think it's even a thing. Like, you can go to a theatre group, or we call it AmDram, Amateur Dramatics.
Okay.
But it's not necessary. It's not like improv is a thing, isn't it? Like, that's more you join a theatre club and they're going to put on a production of a 12th Night in a local theatre, and you audition for a role and you get your role. And
Yeah, it's pretty classic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Groundlings is like comedy sketches, isn't it?
Yeah, like learning how to fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
You know, like an Upright Citizens Brigade is similar, and Second City is another one.
Right.
Where like a lot of comedians come up through there. But they also have, in New York and LA, there's also straight up acting schools that you can go to. But you can also just seek out an acting coach. You know, I saw an acting coach for my auditions that I've taken.
Right.
And I still have a lot to learn. I'm
I
not going
think
to pretend like I'm good. I have no idea what I'm doing.
I think it's like a super brave thing to do. I thought when I was like in school, I thought I'm going to be an actor. I was in like school plays and things. And
What play were you in?
I was in. Any of my friends listening to this will laugh at this because I remind them of it, especially my wife. I remind her all the time that I was Bugsy Malone in Bugsy Malone. It's my big moment. It's all been downhill since I was 15, and I played that part. But I peaked. I peaked at 15. I don't
believe that for a second.
I just got out of the game, and I was in The Crucible. We did some and I was in what did I? Because I studied like some drama.
Okay.
At like A level, and I went to uni and did a bit, but I did it at uni. But actually, I went to university to study drama, thinking I'm going to go and become an actor. And then I got there, and it was more like avant-garde performance, and everyone on the course thought they were going to be on TV and in the movies. And we got there, and we were just learning about things that are actually much more interesting, but not really what we were into, because we were all 18 and thought we were going to be famous.
Right.
And it was like art performance of people kind of cutting their arms and bleeding on stage for 20 minutes, bleeding out on stage and being taken to hospital and things like that. We were like, this isn't really what I was after. But we did, what else was I did like some Waiting for Godot.
Oh, sure. That's a funny one.
That's a funny one, like a funny, surreal one.
Yeah.
So a few bits, but the reason I think I wasn't cut out for it at all was because actually when I really thought about the reality of having to go and stand in a queue of people and go and audition in front of people like you see in Hollywood, I just thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that, because the stress of that and the rejection of it, I couldn't handle. I'm not strong enough for that. So I think anyone that does it, I think it's like a super brave thing to do, to go and stand in front of those directors. And is it as frightening as I'm thinking in my mind?
Oh, yeah. And I feel like I was on the verge of tears when I was doing the reading, and I think the only thing that helped me was that I was supposed to be. So like the only characters I ever get, I'm always like, what am I doing? It's 'cause I'm actually just really nervous and trying to keep it together, and that's what landed me the role, is being scared shitless.
Yeah.
So
okay, you found your niche. You can only audition for things where you're upset.
the most awkward comedian is the one that cries on stage.
So, in terms of the comedy, what comedians did you grow up watching, like stand-up comedy or
Ellen
comic
DeGeneres,
films?
Paula Poundstone.
Okay.
I mean, those were like early. And
You recently played Ellen's show, right?
Yes, I played Ellen. I got to play it on the last record as well,
Okay.
which is really fun. You know, I grew up watching SNL, and you know, the British version of The Office definitely got me through some hard times in the early 2000s. I still think it's beautiful. Like is so well rounded for being a comedy. I was also brought to tears by the special, and I think that one's really special. And then the comedian Nate Bargatze, I don't know if you know him, but he's really great. I think it either just came out or it's about to come out, his new special, and he's really, really funny. He's from Tennessee, and since I lived there for a while, I feel like a kinship to that mentality.
I over here we find out a lot about, I find a lot about a lot of American comics, stand-up comics, from listening to like Mark Maron's podcast.
Oh, sure.
Because he talks about them all the time. Like people that they don't necessarily make it over here.
Right.
Have you done his podcast?
No, I have not.
Would you like to?
Maybe.
He's quite because he's quite a big character, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Mark Maron, and I love Glow.
It's good, right? It's good, right?
That's I don't get to binge watch many things, but that's something that me and my partner binge watched. That and Russian Dolls, which
I'm
is so good.
I'm 3 episodes in.
Oh my gosh, it
And-
gets so good. I mean, it gets you at the beginning anyway, but it gets better and better.
Because I'm 3 episodes in, but I'm not sure that I'm loving it. Do I need to stick
Everyone
with
that
it?
says that says by episode 4,
Turns.
yes. But I loved it all the way through, and I think the music in there is amazing.
The music's great. There's lots
Yeah.
of John Mouse tracks.
Yeah, and like Joe Wong is the music supervisor, and there's one song on there because he does he helps Fred Armisen with the drummer podcast. But there's a song by Anika called what was it called? Try to Sleep, I think it's called.
Is it off of her solo record?
Anika,
Yeah.
I think so. I didn't know her music before I heard the song, and the song is just amazing.
I will stick with it.
And also, it's so New York. Like I recognize
Yes.
so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
of the spots, and it's like in the East Village, like Alphabet City area, and like I just notice a lot of the parks and stuff. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of
It's fun to
nostalgic
watch
for me.
things when they're set where
Yeah.
you live, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll stick with that. I've got that, and I now
hang in there,
I'm now invested in the OA as well.
double down,
As of 24 hours ago.
double down on the darkness.
Yeah, yeah, all the dark ones. Yeah. Should we talk about the new record? Are you sick
I
of
guess
talking about the new
so.
record? We don't have to.
No, I'm still learning how to talk about it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
How's it all going?
Great.
Seems to be going very well.
Yeah, it's been really fun to play these songs.
Do you consider it your 5th record?
Yes.
Because I like the fact that you released like 7 CDRs, that you were releasing CDRs yourself.
Oh yeah, I was hand making them for so long, never thinking a label would want to put out my music.
Yeah.
You know, and not even thinking that. Like that wasn't. It never came into my head when I started playing music. Was I'm gonna get a record deal and I'm gonna go on tour. Like I was just driven to make music, and I would play whenever anyone asked me, and I would mostly play open mics and for like nobody.
Sure.
And I just love playing. Like I had a drive to perform, but with no like goal in mind. And so I just had fun making these CDRs out of broken bags from the wine store I worked at.
Yeah. The record that is your official debut was in 2009. That was Because I Was in Love. How much before that were you releasing stuff yourself?
I had GarageBand on my laptop, and I recorded them on that from like 2005 till 2009.
So you had 4 years of like, and how would you do it? You would just like, how many would you like press of these CDRs? These CDRs could be worth something now.
I mean, I've definitely seen some on eBay. I have friends of mine that send me photos of them.
Really?
Because they're all very different. I
Yeah.
used to hand paint them. I used to like put duct tape on them. I had like a wax seal at one point. I don't know. I went to,
Did you like
I was a craft lady. I would get off work from the wine store. I'd come home with a bottle or 2 of wine, and I would track songs. And if I had a show, I would maybe put 6 songs that I was the most excited about on it, and just like give them away, or people could pay whatever they wanted, and like that was it. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be like
So you
maybe 10
was it at your
CDRs.
shows?
Yeah, it was just at
Oh,
the
yeah.
shows that I was at. And you know, the Cake Shop was a venue in New York that was.
Is that still there?
No, it's not.
Not there at all.
No, it's gone.
What is it now?
It's unrecognizable. It's like a fancy place.
Oh, okay.
Because I tried revisiting a bunch of places when I was shooting the video for 17, because I visited old apartments and old venues that some still there, some not, you know, just as like a goodbye to New York kind of,
Yeah.
and an acknowledgement of how things have changed since I started playing. But that was the first place to actually sell my CD in the store, because they had the record store upstairs and then the venue downstairs. And so they had my handmade ones there. You know, every time I had a show, I would just put random songs on that I was psyched about at the time, and then that was it. And I would do different, you know, I felt like maybe if people knew that every time I have a show, it's like you never know what new songs I'm going to play, what songs are going to be on the disc, and it's just they're kind of collecting them.
Yeah.
You know, just
Did
for
you have like a
locals.
following of people? Would people come to the gigs repeatedly? You'd see the same faces.
I mean, that's why I kept doing it. You know, I mean,
Without that, you were just in an
eventually-
empty room.
Eventually, people started coming.
Yeah.
But it took me, it took me about 4 years to have a, build a following, and I just worked my ass off, and I said yes to everything, and I eventually got offered a residency at this venue called Zebulon, where I was able to curate my own shows once a month and invite people that I connected with as musicians, and got to put on a show every month with people that I cared about, and it was a real community there for a minute. I mean, most of us have moved away or are so busy that we don't get to do that anymore, and that venue doesn't exist either anymore in New York. It's in LA now. But
Oh, it's moved just all the way over the other side.
they literally moved the bar itself to Los Angeles,
Okay.
and it's open there now.
So you can play it once you're over there. You can start playing there again.
Yeah, except my ex works there, so I probably won't. But,
Oh, okay, right. No, bad idea.
but no, it's doing really well though. They put on really cool shows.
Okay.
There's a good scene there right now. But most of the venues that I grew up playing in New York are no longer there.
That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the way it goes, right?
It is, yeah, it is, of course, yeah. Are you gonna find it hard to move out of New York?
Yeah, I've been there 15 years. That's longer than I've lived anywhere. But I need a change, and I can't afford to live there anymore. So it's so ridiculous. I'm in a 1-bedroom, and my son is sleeping in my closet.
Right.
Something's got to give.
Yeah, London's like that. My
Sure.
bathroom is like behind you there. You see that? I should probably describe this for the podcast listeners. That's like the steps that go up to that mezzanine, and it's slanted. Imagine if you put a shower and a toilet in that gap there that's got a slanted roof, so you can't even really stand up in it without
You're
hitting
tall,
your head. And I'm
too.
tall.
Yeah.
That's our bathroom in our
So
house.
do you have a seat in there?
There's like hardly enough room to turn around. Mm-hmm. It's frustrating.
I remember when I first was looking at apartments in New York, and there's a bathtub in the kitchen, and the toilet was right next to the oven with like a door.
Right.
I was like, isn't there an expression like "don't shit where you eat" or something? Like, I was just like, I just don't know. Like, having a nice intimate dinner party and like someone has to use the restroom. I'm just like, one of the things we checked off when we were moving into the apartment we're in now was a bathroom that's not connected to the kitchen. Like,
It's a deal breaker.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there are things in your life as you progress as an adult. You're like, maybe I want my bed not in the living room.
Yeah.
Maybe I want it in its own room.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a 2-room apartment.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. It's good to have these small goals.
Yes.
To slowly get there.
Yes, like having a closet is huge.
It's a massive
Yes.
deal. But it's amazing that during all that time when you were like putting out your own CDs and just playing everywhere and just kind of, you really were just doing it for the love of doing it, right? Did you have any notion whatsoever that you would ever get a deal?
No, not at all. I mean, I remember a friend of mine, Kip Malone. He's in a band called TV on the Radio, and I grew up with his little brother, and I met him by going to see this band called Celebration play, and he opened up, and he looked super familiar, and I saw his last name, and I realized that he was the brother of this kid I went to high school with. So I introduced myself to him, and I just said, I went to school with your brother. I just moved back from Tennessee. I'm like pretty lost, just trying to figure it out, just playing music. Just here's my CD. And he reached out to me, and we stayed in touch. And he was definitely integral in showing me neighborhoods and venues to play or just go check out music, and neighborhoods to move to once I decided to move from New Jersey to New York. And there's one time we were hanging out in New Jersey because he has family there still, and he did a fake interview with me over at a diner table in New Jersey, like Jersey diner, total Jersey diner. And he just said, I have a feeling you're going to have to learn how to have an interview. And so he would like ask me questions, like, fake questions. And
Did he go easy on you, or was he
I would just giggle because I thought he was off his rocker, and he's like, so why do you play music? What is this song about? Tell me about yourself. I'm just like, stop messing with me.
Were you just thinking, I'm never going to be in this situation, I don't need to learn this?
No, I thought he was like having a go, But no, I had no idea. that I could be where I am today. Even it's
Yeah.
a trip.
So now that you're on what is officially your 5th record, Remind Me Tomorrow, how's it all going? Because the reason there's 5 years between your last 2 records is because you did kind of think, I'm going to just put this on hold for a little bit and go to school and learn psychology. But then suddenly all these things happened, like you had a baby and you